a donor will contact me and will, with an interest in establishing a planned gift. I'm telling you, it is so fun to see at the end of those conversations the realization by the donor that, wow, I never ever dreamed I could endow that scholarship, or I never ever dreamed I could contribute to the university's mission in that way. So that's the key. And as I said, the key, I'm going to mention legacy probably a dozen times today. So, gift planning refers to a set of tools, and it is sort of helpful, I think, to view it in that context. Set of tools available to a donor who wants to leave a legacy. That's the key. A legacy gift. That's what we're after. So I've given this presentation multiple times, and this is one of the slides that always stays in the mix, because I think it's helpful just to sort of identify where gift planning fits into the overall fundraising picture. So annual giving, the source of annual gifts, income or cash on hand. So when I get an appeal from the United Way, I'm kind of thinking in my head, okay, what can I afford this month when I'm considering writing that check? Annual giving programs obviously have a tendency to go towards ongoing operations, so sort of keeping the lights on and fulfilling the immediate mission of the charity. The target audience, all constituents. I mean, Dr. Seiler mentioned direct mail, email blasts, whatever. It's a large target audience. And like I said, annual solicitation or maybe an annual event of some sort would be a way to sort of solicit those types of gifts. Now, at the university, we have annual gifts, we have major gifts, we have planned gifts and principal gifts. So moving on to major gifts, which at our shop are defined at gifts of $50,000 or more. But again, that varies based on charity size and whatnot. The source for major gifts, you kind of get away from the income or the cash on hand, and you start thinking about more significant assets, maybe stock portfolios or the like. And we obviously start talking a lot about, when it comes to our major gifts, 5-year pledges, let's say. Charities use, special projects. So let's say the Kelley School of Business has a campaign to expand Hodge Hall. Major gifts play an important role, actually, in a building campaign, a more important role even than planned gifts, because there is a need for funds today. So that would be an example of an ultimate use for a major gift. Target audience, obviously the field drastically narrows when you're talking about major gifts. So you're looking at a select group of prospects with the linkage to your organization, but also with the capacity to make a major gift at that time. And again, tactics would be a little more unique to that particular donor. Now, planned gifts, that's what we're here to talk about today. The source of the gifts, obviously, it's different even still. It's estate wealth. It's everything that has been accumulated during life becomes part of what we're talking about when we're trying to fit all this together. Ultimate use. There are examples where a donor will establish a planned gift for an unrestricted account or something a little more tied to immediate use. But usually, we see these funds establishing permanent endowments. The beauty of planned giving, and I'm going to try to convince you of this by the end of this presentation, is I truly believe that anyone under the sun is a candidate for a planned gift, at least one type of planned gift, which we will discuss here momentarily. And the sort of cultivation tactics for raising a planned gift, continuous education, we're going to talk a little bit about that. Marketing is key in this area, but it's tricky because you're trying to accomplish two things in gift planning marketing. You're trying to get them excited about your charity's mission, but there's also an education element to it. And that's that's a little bit of a tricky proposition. And long-term cultivation, as I pointed out earlier, we do have examples of individuals who kind of come into the fold and immediately document a planned gift, but those examples are few and far between. This usually involves getting someone engaged and sort of riding that wave with them over a long period of time. So this is just a slide that tries to show, kind of the world as we all know it, right? So this just shows from 1990 to 2012. We had the Gulf War that obviously had effects on the market. 9/11, second Gulf War, Lehman collapse. The point being, we live in a wild world, obviously, and as some of these peaks and some of these valleys take place, that definitely has an effect on charitable giving, obviously. Although I'm going to, again, by the end of this presentation, will hopefully convince you that in the area of planned giving might be a way to sort of ride out some of the volatility. The good news, gift planning, right? So given all that volatility, gift planning techniques, first of all, they're flexible and even revocable. Bequests in an individual, which we're going to spend the majority of our time talking about, because I think that is the gift type that's most applicable to everyone in this room and myself at the IU Foundation as well. Bequests, like I said, can be completely revocable and amendable and flexible over time. Retirement plan assets and life insurance beneficiary designations would apply as well. So it's a way that someone can document a significant gift today, but there's flexibility. There's, it can change over time as a donor's needs change over time. Certainty in uncertain times. The gift vehicle which I chose to identify there as being sort of indicative of that particular aspect would be a charitable gift annuity. We're going to talk a little bit about that. A charitable gift annuity is a vehicle that allows a donor to make a gift today and receive a fixed income for life. So with all the volatility on the last slide, we have a vehicle that can provide absolute certainty, at least as it pertains to income stream from that particular gift. Income. Generating income from a traditional non-income producing asset. Charitable remainder trust. We're going to talk briefly about those. That's an example where you might have a donor with a piece of, let's say, artwork or some farm property or some other asset that is just sort of sitting there. Well, we have this wonderful vehicle where that gift can be made to, donated to basically your charity. The gift is sold, or the property is sold, and then an income stream, variable income stream, can be generated for life. So there's another example of how you can sort of ride that volatility in the last slide. All these vehicles are tax advantageous, but as Dr. Seiler said, I would completely agree. Very rarely is that the main impetus for any of these. They all fit very well in their specific situations, but in the end, the main impetus is the donor wants to make a gift. And all of these are still gifts, as wonderful as the tax ramifications might be. And accessible. Accessible to all, donors of any age and income level. I'm going to talk a little bit about bequests, but that's pretty obvious, right? I mean, let's say you establish a residual bequest. 25% of my estate is to go to X charity. Your estate could be $10 million or your estate could be $10. It still works. Okay, my second poor attempt at humor, and I apologize. Bequest. This slide says, Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. All of Humpty's family and all of his friends couldn't believe Humpty didn't have a will or estate plan. The 50% statistic that Dr. Seiler mentioned is one that I always go with as well. Though when I was in private practice in Chicago, I was working at the largest, not the largest firm in Chicago, but the largest tax and estate planning firm group. So we had the most full-time attorneys dedicated solely to estate planning of any law firm in Chicago. And I'm embarrassed to say we were well below that 50%. So, 50% of the population has